In the King Trading Moving Average video, I discussed how the 5 EMA crossing above the 13 EMA can be used along with other technical indicators to signal when to enter a trade. Let's go. I'll make sure to link that video at the end of this one, as it goes into quite a bit of detail about moving averages and how to use them. First, you'll notice that the 5 EMA crossed above the 13 EMA on the hourly, and the RSI looks good. Recently, I've also added evaluating MACD to the algorithm to keep from entering trades with a downtrend. It's much more efficient to avoid getting false signals as stocks are selling off that I then issue no trades on our Discord. Also, the algorithm won't signal a buy if the candle has obtained half the take profit level. A little bit more about backtest results in a bit that help determine the optimal take profit and stop loss levels. Now, I also pay attention to the market dynamics and other economic calendar, earnings, and other fundamentals such as yields to help understand larger forces at play. Between the IWM, SPY, and Qs, if over 2,500 stocks are going down in one direction, it's hard to believe I just found one that's going up. So let's look at areas of support and resistance on Tesla next. This is something that an algorithm doesn't do. First, you'll notice in the hourly candle prior to the signal, it had a pretty massive wick that was put in for Tesla, and it had 2 gap and craps prior. So now it appears we have a cup in search of a handle, and the gap down from the 22nd is another area of resistance at 240. Now let's look at the fib retrace. We have now twice hit the 382, and holding this and bouncing is very bullish. Also, if we were to break the neckline, the fib extension tool may better help where this can go. Using the tool, if we break above 240, this most likely wants to run to at least 255 as a target. Now, anything between the 618 and 1 fib levels are typical. You will notice that these align pretty well with the resistance levels. Now, as promised, you probably have been looking at the 5% take profit and 2.5% stop loss and wondering, how did I arrive at those? By backtesting the algorithm for the past 5 years, I can see the optimal take profit and stop losses by getting a good percent profitable and profit factor. So really just looking for some follow through and a break and close above the neckline before I put some cash into this trade and start running with the bulls. If we get a pullback building a handle, it may be the perfect opportunity for me to buy. I always wonder why when the market puts items on sale, why nobody is buying. So once in a trade, how do you know when to take profit? Like on this Tesla one where we maximize profit. First, make sure to subscribe and I'll continue to alert when I buy and sell some of these in the future. And of course, if you want to get notified in real time, then join the paid Discord for only $5 per month. The first thing I look for when in a trade is if we're holding the 5 EMA. And if we dip below it, do we hold the 13 EMA and get a bounce? You will notice in Tesla that we never lost the 5 EMA once the handle broke up and out on our initial surge. But why did I exit a partial position at pretty much the high point? How did I know? Well, there's a ton of logic that goes into protecting this trade with the algorithm. But essentially, when I protect a trade, it means I take half off the board and then move my stop higher. But if I dumb it down, essentially, I'm looking for if the trend is breaking down by evaluating the average directional index slope after my optimal take profit has been reached. So here you can see that as we went higher and then I was paying attention to the average directional index. I'm not showing that right now, but essentially that slope started breaking down here. So that was an initial take profit for me and protect the trade. This way, if it keeps moving higher, I don't paper hand the trade. And in this case, 9% is better than the 5% optimal take profit. But instead of just moving my stop to break even after I protect it, I move it up further to ensure I lock in as much profit as possible. And again, all this has been back tested, so I know what is the proper amount to set the stop for the remainder. And here you can see that I got stopped out when up 8% instead of moving my stop loss down to break even, which would have been 0. If I would have waited on this, I would have been down another 3% by close on the 50% remainder. But not every trade is going to take off and achieve take profit prior to reversing. And the ability to understand this and to sell as the trend is breaking down and taking a small loss can be better than getting stopped. As when this Tesla trade setup signaled a buy, as momentum was caught to the upside, this one looked like it was ready to run, as we discussed earlier. But then the momentum waned as the 5 EMA crossed below the 13 EMA, plus the MACD line crossed below the signal, all the while the stochastic appeared overbought on the hourly. Instead of waiting to potentially get stopped out on this trade, it makes sense to go ahead and close this trade early and take a small loss, as I can always re-enter the trade when the setup looks favorable again and is signaled a buy. Also, as King Trading tracks over 40 stocks and indices, trust me when I say there's always another trade set up to enter. And as I mentioned earlier, make sure to watch the moving average video as it goes through this concept and much more. As that's all I have for now until our next video, and we'll see you then.